A little bit. I just wanted to provide a very quick overview of the whole training before we get started. So this is the Rikolto EcoAgriculture training on integrated landscape management. The focus really is on getting familiar with ILM and cultivating an actionable understanding of integrated landscape management so that the Rikolto team, the Rikolto staff can apply it in their work. We're going to cover 10 sessions, 10 webinars. This is the first one today. Each session is going to be approximately 2 hours in total. And we're going to try to divide that time as much as possible in interaction and breakout rooms and discussions so that we have a lot of time to learn and to share. Last time we met was in October. It was during the kickoff session. And since then, you will become really familiar with the set, with the ILM practical guide, hopefully with the 5 elements of the ILM framework as well. And those resources were really to give you a broad overview of what we're going to explore together during the whole training. But now we're going to dive into each of those concepts a little bit deeper. And we're also going to bring in some of the Rikolto tools, some of the Rikolto resources, so that we can find some synergies and build on that together as well. So you can go to the next slide, please, Max. So before we go on, we wanted to say a big thank you to everybody who participated, who completed the set tool. We had 4 landscapes completed the set, and that was really helpful for us to think about what gaps there are in the learning and what we should really focus on in the training. So we wanted to give a big shout out to these 4 landscapes: the Sustainable Water Management Suwama, the Yohoa Lake Watershed, the Manabi Norte Coastal Marine Ecosystem, and Zona de Amortiguamiento del Bosque de Protección San Matías San Carlos. So thank you very much to those landscape teams. You really helped us think about how we can improve the set going forward. It helped us streamline the set. We also had some good learnings from it. We realized that it would be maybe we waited to use the set at the end of the process rather than in the beginning. So thank you for helping us think all of this through and for our learnings. So you can go on to the next slide, please, Max. So this is just an overview of the program outline. So as I mentioned before, we have 10 workshop sessions from now until the end of May. All of the dates are listed, and you should already have all of these dates in your calendars. Please let me know if you don't see them in your calendars, and we'll figure out what's happening. We're going to meet roughly on the last Tuesday and Thursday of every month. This month is an exception. And these are the topics that we're going to cover. So we're going to start in January. As I mentioned, we're going to cover introduction to ILM, to integrated landscape management. We're going to think about, what a landscape is, what it means to manage a landscape in an integrated way. And then on Thursday, building off what we looked at today, we're going to think about why we practice ILM, who practices ILM, who the main actors are, and how we practice ILM. And that's when we're going to start thinking a little bit deeper into the ILM framework and finding some synergies between the framework that Rikolto uses as well. And then in February, we're going to focus on stakeholders. So the first session is going to guide us through a DEIJ perspective. We're going to look at diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, and lay the groundwork for us to always take an inclusive approach to landscape management and think about how to engage stakeholders in a very inclusive way. We're going to have 3 guest speakers for those 2 sessions in February. We're going to have Natalia Ruiz Guevara and Claudia Rojas from the Latin American Model Forest Network and from CATIE. And we're also going to have Gustavo Mentling from Brazil. He developed the stakeholder mapping and engagement material for 1,000 landscapes. So he's become a little bit of an expert in that field, and he's gonna be with us to share material then too. And then in March, now that we've established who our stakeholders are, how to be inclusive and how to engage them, we're going to pivot towards landscape partnerships. And that's when we think about multi-stakeholder platforms, which you guys already work with, but we're going to change the perspective a little bit to think about a multi-stakeholder platform that supports landscape, so a broader reach. And then when we've established what a landscape partnership is, then we need a shared vision. So then we dive into the shared vision. And then in April, we start looking at how we put these, we have our shared vision. Now, how do we develop a plan? How do we put that plan into action? And we also start looking at landscape finance strategy and tools. Then we wrap that up in May before our final reflection session where we bring everything together. Are there any questions about the program outline? I know I went through that a little bit quickly, but you'll have this on hand for later. Any questions? All right. So thank you, Max, for moving into the next slide. Mariela, do you want to, I'm going to start talking, but you jump in anytime and help me add on anything that I missed, okay? So the first thing we wanted to mention is that, you know, it's really important for us to use this space and make sure our time together is worthwhile for everyone. Online learning is really difficult. There's a lot less space for interaction than in-person workshops. There's a much bigger chance that people are gonna get distracted, they'll zone out, they'll lose focus, especially if there's a lot of text on the screen or if the person that's speaking is talking for too long, like I'm doing now. So, you know, we're aware of this challenge and we want to make sure that we shake it up as much as possible, that you get the most out of our time together. We're committed to making the sessions as interactive as possible with breaks for discussions, with activities, questions, quizzes, and more. And we encourage you to please email us with any suggestions for how we can do that. So if you have any ideas of icebreakers, energizers, anything that we can use, any apps or tools that we can use to make this time more interactive and more dynamic, please do that. And then Max, you can go right up to the top again, please.
Yeah, assess.
Max, you can go back to the first tab.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the first thing, so we have here some suggested rules and roles for a welcoming learning space. And the first thing we wanted to suggest is before we start the session, always try to find someone somewhere quiet, somewhere calm, with no distractions, and that has good internet connectivity. And that's really important because we already have a lot of distractions when we're on our computer. So we want to make sure we remove as much of the distractions as possible. We also ask that you always try to keep your video on. And we understand that sometimes you need a brief pause. We understand that sometimes you don't have good connectivity, but that speaks to the first point. Try to log on where you have good internet. But keeping the camera on really helps us read your body language and see if you need a break, see if you need more support, more attention. So it's really helpful for us if we can see your faces and if we can read your body language. So we really encourage you to keep your cameras on as much as possible. The next one is obvious. Please keep yourself on mute unless you're speaking, because or else we have a lot of interference in the sound. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. Does everybody know how to raise their hand using the Zoom app? So there's a bar on the bottom of your screen. There's a little hand raise. You just click on that and we'll know that you'd like to speak. And we do encourage you to comment and, you know, ask questions as much as possible. So please feel free to do that. Also, please use the chat function as much as you like and the reactions liberally. It's really helpful for us to increase engagement. Thank you. There's Charlotte demonstrating, modeling the behavior already, giving us a thumbs up. You can add a little heart. There are multiple little emojis that you can use to show us what you're thinking. And then expect to interact. You know, we really welcome your questions. We welcome your critical observations. We encourage you to make this training your own. And, you know, it's always really important to remember that if you have a question, it's likely that someone else has the same question and they're too shy and they don't want to ask that question. So please ask questions, make comments, make suggestions. We really want to hear what you all have to say. This really is a space about you. And then finally, and this is probably more for me than anybody else, let's remember that not everyone has English as their first language, and we should speak slowly and clearly so that everyone can understand us. And if anyone doesn't understand anything that we're saying, please feel free to post, oh, could you repeat that, please? I didn't understand that. Could you please speak? Remind us to speak more slowly if necessary in the chat box. So now I wanted to ask you guys, are there any other suggestions of things we should add to this list so that we can make this a welcoming learning space for us? Anyone from the Rikolto team have any suggestions to add? And you can raise your hand, you can type it in the chat box.
No, sounds good. And I think nobody at Rikolto in the whole organization has English as a first language. So I think that's always good to remember this.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you. Mariela and Irvin, anything to add? All right. I think we can go on then. All right, so before we go any further, oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong slide. Now that we have the housekeeping out of the way, I wanted to make sure you guys know who we are. So that's me in the middle. My name's Patricia. I'm Brazilian. I'm based in the Dominican Republic. Max is there on my right. And he already introduced himself, but Max, if you'd like to say a couple of words about yourself, feel free.
Okay, I can, well, thank you very much. My name is Max Yamauchi. You already knew me from the first kickoff session. I'm from Brazil, and I work with EcoAgriculture partners since, I don't know, there's not much, like 3-4 months ago. And before I was working in CATIE, which is an organization in Costa Rica, working with sustainable resources management in agriculture. And I also am part of the managing team of the Latin American Model Forest Network, which is a network of landscapes, working with landscape approach in Latin America and in the whole world as well. So it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thanks, Max. So Max and I are going to be leading most of the sessions or co-facilitating the sessions with the guest speakers. We also have Bemi, who's on our team. She's here on my left on the screen. Bemi has been working in the background to help us prepare the materials, structure the sessions, think about how we can make the sessions as interactive as possible. But it's 4 o'clock in the morning for Bemi, so she's not going to be here for most of the sessions with her. She's here in heart and spirit, but not physically with us. And I know that it's also really late and really early for some of you guys. I know it was very difficult for us to find a time that suited all the participants. So I wonder, what time is it now in Tanzania? Do we have any participants from Tanzania who could tell us what time is it there?
Tanzania is 5 now.
5 p.m. now?
4.
So it's the end of the day for you now already. What about Senegal
Yeah.
and Faso? Is it the same time?
It's
Yeah.
1 p.m. actually in Senegal. Huh?
Okay. Oh, well, that's okay. That's the middle of the day. That's fine. What about Ecuador, Guatemala, Honduras? What time is it for you guys?
In Ecuador is almost 8 in the
Here in
morning.
Central America, Honduras, almost 7 o'clock in the morning.
7 o'clock in the morning. Oh, nice. Thank you. What about Indonesia?
Almost 8 p.m.
9 p.m. Oh my goodness, that's very late.
Right.
Okay. Well, so we really appreciate everyone making the effort to be here. I know it's a very tough time for some of you to still be at work, even if it is just for a training. Mariela, is there anyone else from the Rikolto team we'd like to introduce?
Oh, I can do it, Patricia.
Okay.
So, yeah. So thank you, everyone. I am Mariela Bisman, and together with Norvin, my colleague from Nicaragua, Charlotte, the Global Director of Good Food for City, and James, who works in monitoring, evaluation, and learning, we will guide you through this process. So the idea is to learn together, to share aspirations, but also questions and doubts that arise during the implementation. So I am part of the Latin America team. My language is Español, yo hablo Español, but we are organizing mechanisms to listen to you, to give you more information. We are the supporting team, supporting Bemi, Max, and Patricia. So we are planning to organize this big group by language. And together with Charlotte in French, James in English, I can join that group also. And Norvin and myself in Spanish. The idea is to support you all. So this process took time to start. So we are starting now. We are in this point, and this will be successful with your active participation. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for being here. and we are ready to start this journey where we will add different perspectives. So the idea is to enjoy this, to learn and to contribute from our experience. So thank you, Patricia, and thank you, everyone.